Hello and welcome to The Hill is Always Greener, a show where four friends have chill discussions about Sonic the Hedgehog to distract themselves through the inevitable rusting of metal and their own rapidly waning ability to keep all their original parts. I'm CyberLink.
I'm GameBuddy, or at least I once was.
I'm Mecha Chris. You gotta have a mecha version of a character, that's just a fact. Faulerro, fuck! It's fine, everyone knows I'm Chris. I'm reading my name literally. Sorry, I did not sleep great, everyone. Sorry, Jake, carry on.
Mecha Chris. And I'm Scrambled RockTheJake. Now more so.
Oh, it's only fitting that we are just all minds all over the place, because this is something that we have wanted to cover basically since it came out not long after we started this podcast.
It's weird. You think you mentioned it in the outline, but most of the comics we've covered on here happened before we started the podcast.
Yeah, this is the first time we are covering both an IDW issue and an issue that came out after we started the show.
Ooh.
Which is wild to think about, but what a one to start with.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you've listened to us before, you know we haven't covered IDW because, not because we don't love the comic, it's just that there's so much to choose from and like so many early arcs. And then this one came around, which is a mini series that just we thought was a perfect place to start, mostly because we want everybody to read it if you listen to this.
Desperately so. Of course, we are talking about Sonic the Hedgehog, Scrapnik Island.
Yay!
Yes.
Hooray!
Woo!
Clap,
Genuinely
clap,
might be one of the
applause.
best Sonic comics ever written.
Quite
Yes.
possibly.
I absolutely will immediately second that, just because I don't want to get people's hopes up, but just speaking as someone who has read a lot of Sonic comics, this one hits really good.
Yes.
Yep.
It's one of those ones where I saw it get announced. I was like, oh, this is what I want from a Sonic. Don't get me wrong, I love the IDW comics, but to have something a little bit off kilter like this with what characters it uses, I was like, oh, go on. That's what I want. A little bit of nostalgia mixed with horror.
Yes.
It feels like it's breaking the rules in a lot of ways, which is something that I really think is cool.
Yeah, you say breaking the rules. I mean, I know you're not intentionally referring to the dreaded boogeyman of the Sega mandates that have been discussed in the fandom for years, but then I think that's why I love Scrapnik Island so much, is that it does feel like they're quote unquote getting away with something, but then you read the story and you see how it's been in not only just referencing things that have happened in Sonic games, but just the franchise as a whole, and how it's been inspired by things that have always been in Sonic. The easy one off the top of my head is the humanity of artificially created beings. You have literally have an E-series robot in here, so you're immediately drawn to Gamma's story and Sonic Adventure, and just what happens to all those robots that Eggman makes and then never interacts with again, or gets smashed up but not completely destroyed by Sonic. And I just love seeing that put into the living universe that is, the IDW/game continuity.
It is interesting that you said, it does feel a little bit like they're getting away with something, because you mentioned this isn't too untrue from what Sonic is. In fact, it's not. It's really in spirit with Sonic, even if the presentation is a bit disarming at first. But there's something about me being a 90s kid growing up with Sonic the Comic that's they're doing some stuff I shouldn't be able to read this, should I?
Yeah.
But not in a Sonic thing.
Yeah, it makes me wish, I don't know, I would almost want to hear, and I guess I could just read, the letters that are included with the the issues themselves. But like, yeah, kids who were my age, you know, the same age I was when I was picking up the comics and like, say was about 10 years old and like read Endgame and Archie and thinking like, oh my gosh, this is treading on new ground that a children's franchise never has before, you know, not knowing any better. And of course, I think this is much better than Endgame, but like, yeah, I hope like...
bar.
Yeah. I hope kids that pick this up also had that feeling of like, oh, wow, this is, you know, that feeling of, I think we've literally talked about that feeling before, like as a kid when you're watching something that isn't like watching or reading something that doesn't necessarily scare you, but you know, like, oh, wow, I'm 10 and this might be for a 13-year-old. My first PG-13 movie with my dad or whatever.
I mean, I think kids do like to be scared within limits. You know, obviously.
Oh boy, do they! Take a look at the stuff that's popular now with kids.
Oh god,
yeah, that's true.
But yes, children do love the mascot horror.
God, I'm glad you just put that extra syllable on there because sometimes I do hear Americans say horror.
Oh,
I missed the last part.
I can't remember if I've said that out loud. Especially as a horror fan myself, like. And also from the South where we drop syllables all the time. Like, no, I can't stand that either.
You got to make a conscious effort.
I love horror movies. What kind of movies?
No, it's fine. Let's discuss horror in the podcast because it's an important part, and sometimes we're going to have to say that word with an American accent. So, just to clarify to everyone, in this instance, we're talking about horror. The genre.
Horror.
God, sorry, maybe this won't make it into the podcast, but I was Quizmaya, cool streamer. Guest, a friend of the show, was doing a stream recently and said horror, and I'm like, man, whenever Americans say that, it sounds like whore. And she said it again, and she says, well, how do you say it? Horror. And then she said it like again, and I was just like, and I in all caps, stupidly, I typed whore into the chat, and she screenshotted that, and she's going to hold that over me forever.
Oh, there's Faulerro, his hatred of women bubbling up onto the surface again.
Just say
caught
whore.
You in 4K.
You made your bed, now you got to lay in it.
Yep. I'll leave that part in.
you made your whore, now you got to roar in it.
Horror. Okay, we're not even on page 1.
Shall we talk about who put this together, by the way?
Absolutely.
There's some
right
dudes.
ahead.
Yeah, so this whole series was written by Daniel Barnes with art by Jack Lawrence, colors by Natalie Fordrain, letters by Sean Lee, with Riley Farmer as David Marriott as editors. And a lot of variant cover artists.
Boy, was that.
A whole bunch.
A lot of good stuff.
I would say they're all very good. I guess that's part of that collector's market. You got to have those variants.
Yep. Not me buying every variant of Worlds Unite.
Oh, no. You know, I do have, I still haven't framed them, but I do have John Gray's IDW 50th issue variant and the textless version of Evan Stanley, so I don't have room to talk.
I don't know how I feel about the practice of variant covers in comics, because while I love looking at all these covers, they look incredible, there is that sort of like artificially manufactured FOMO that they create by doing this sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
But that's a whole thing for the comics industry, and we're talking about Sonic the Hedgehog, so we have no care for that kind of thing right now.
Yeah. Sonic is the only comic that matters to us.
Yes. And I just want to go ahead and shout out Jack Lawrence and Natalie Fordrain for the art and colors, because like, ooh, honestly, that's one of my favorite parts of this entire comic. Like it just looks so good. I love the color choices. I love the style. It's just, it's amazing to look at, like every single page. I love it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I had already been a huge fan of Jack Lawrence's Transformers work. So when he jumped over to Sonic, it's like, oh, just a perfect fit.
Oh, dang, that looks great.
Yeah, it's hard to really put a finger on it. It's just excellent color theory as well. Like jumping into the first page of the first issue, you have this beautiful base of green for this horrendous thunderstorm that Sonic and Tails are flying through on the tornado. And then just a page later, everything gets really cool with purples and blues as, Sonic wakes up and is walking around this mysterious place. But I don't want to jump too far ahead because I'll tell you up front, folks, we are going to do our usual like comic like commentary on the broad strokes of the story. I'm just going to say right here, like, you should read this. Like, if you have any interest in Sonic comics in general, you should read this. And also, again, not that like the main IDW series is lacking in any of this, but this specific mini series also has tons of great visual storytelling. I mean, it is a comic book after all, but like I'm talking about zero dialogue, like sequential images that just convey like emotions and events that just don't hit with, four guys explaining the pictures on a podcast. So
like, And this book is set basically between issues 56 and 57, but I would say you can go into this with absolutely no knowledge of the IDW series and be 100% okay. As long as you've played like basically a handful of the games, you're probably good.
Pretty much, this is just like dropping Sonic and Tails into a story, and sometimes that's all you need. That's like the old classic formula of Sonic, so... yeah, it's fine. just read it already. Come back to it. Go read it and come back if you haven't already.
Stop the podcast, read it, and come back. We'll wait.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, I think the
give him another few seconds. Got to give him time to.
I was going to say, as of recording, I think the trade paperback is almost just over 10 American US dollars. So go buy it.
Oh, nice. I do want to mention, like, right before we go into the story, like, I think it's so important to have really good drop-in stories like these where there's no continuity that you have to follow up on, and you still just get a really good story that you get to enjoy in full. Because I feel like continuity is a great thing, and it's very rewarding to be able to follow a story for a long time and have it pay off. I mean, like, as far as new movies, because I'm going to use this as an example anyway, as far as movies go, like, one of the best examples of continuity and storytelling is the Marvel series, like leading up to Endgame. And like, now Marvel's having trouble because there's too much continuity that they're trying to tie all together. And I think it would help them. And I think it's already helped here in Sonic, where it's nice to have a non-continuity, still great quality story that is like a refresher already. Like, it's just nice to,
It is good, because it didn't start the issue with Sonic being like, oh boy, I can't believe we made it out of Imperial City, okay? And with a little like asterisk leading down to, make sure to read issue 1.
I was about to bring up, like, we literally have a contrast in the same franchise of, like, Archie Sonic was really bad at that. And even when Archie Sonic got really good, there was still, when it was trying to keep a hold of all of its continuity, it was hard for new fans to just jump right in, and you would have to have either editor's notes or characters like, oh yeah, that's like when this happened, and you waste like a whole page or panel. Whereas IDW, like, even in the regular book, I feel has been really good about that. Like, it's probably part of like the intention, the intentionality of the book, as far as it has to like follow the continuity of the games as well. And so, but also, like, you can't count on every kid that's going to pick up a Sonic comic book to have even played some of the games that follow, just for various reasons. And so I feel like it does a really good job of throwing in like one or two lines or an editor's note of like, oh yeah, they're talking about this here, but I have never felt lost, personally, like in these books, like I did, like picking up random Archie issues, which is great. I'm really glad. And I think it really speaks to like a team, the comics team in general, who probably grew up with Archie comics or worked on them as well, and then, had moved over to this book. So yeah, I really just to put a pin on that, I really don't think you'd even have to have played like even the classic Sonic's game this is referencing, because so many of the, like I said, so many of the characters and concepts in Scrapnik Island are stuff you might just pick up as a Sonic fan. Like I'm seeing just on social media, like a huge people discovering the Sonic Advance games. And there are lots of fans who have never gotten to play those because, well, they've never re-released them. But people are fascinated with them because they're super cool. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
And Sega's like, oh man, we've got no plans to bring them back. We'd love to, but we're not going to.
oh boy.
Also, you mentioned you can't expect like a kid picking up the comic to know everything about it before going in. You also can't expect the same thing of adults. Brian David Gilbert.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I've never played a Sonic game.
I am glad that this doesn't also, like, I'm glad that every issue doesn't end with them being like, wow, can you believe that happened? Be sure to join us next issue. And also to pick up the Sonic Select series.
Yeah.
And also this. And the Sonic Archives. Wow. Archie. We love selling you things.
It's thankfully given the reverence this story deserves.
Yes. I'm just imagining that version now, and it's pretty great, actually. And then you cut to a picture of Jughead. Oh, but you know what we are missing, though? We are missing, like, our mini M&M's adverts throughout.
Yeah, I know. I was just saying when I read IDW, I either get the digital version or the trades, and so I've never seen an advert in an IDW Sonic comic, and I'm
Like,
missing.
I buy the physical most of the time, but I think that, yeah, Scrapnik was one of the ones that I bought digital only. So,
if you're reading the physical copy, let us know what great adverts we're missing out on. Probably trying to sell kids crypto.
oh no!
No, don't say that.
let's jump right in with issue 1 with Sonic and Tails flying on a dark and stormy night
Five Iron
far
Frenzy.
out at sea.
Yeah, like I said, these opening pages are gorgeous. I mean,
Yes.
it's this great splash page of
Literally
of Sonic
splash.
and
Look at all
Tails.
that water.
Yeah, they're flying real low.
Wettest splash page.
In this just nasty storm. Like Sonic is not on his usual place on top of the biplane. He's trying to
Between the wings, yeah. Get him
That's a good point.
he's uncovered.
trying to keep rain out of his big old eyeballs, I suppose.
And Tails has got his little...
And he's, clutching onto the frame just because otherwise he's probably going to blow away in the wind from how, bad the storm is.
And I gotta say, there is something missing reading the digital version to where you don't get the scale of the 2-page splash revealing the original, the one, the only crashed Death Egg from Sonic.
They
3
do
and
make sure to
Knuckles.
specify that it's the
It's
old
very
one.
specifically the original and not the one from Forces.
No, which I was gonna say. You said, "Oh, how could they get away with just using the Death Egg?" And it's like, you know what? I bet even Sega recognized, well, Eggman pulls those out of his ass all the time. We can reference
It's
one
not,
that's
it's
crashed.
not the Death Egg I'm surprised they used.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Well, yeah. But there is something about starting this off with Sonic and Tails flying in on the biplane that just immediate, even if it's a completely different kind of setup, with it being dark and scary and stormy and stuff, it's still that communicates Sonic to me. Most people will think of that. Anyone who played Sonic 3 is oh yeah, it's the beginning of the game. So I don't know. It's just a tried and true formula to be this is Sonic, the two characters you like on a plane.
In media res.
I mean, that, is a staple of Sonic even to this day. I immediately think of the intro to Lost World where they're chasing Eggman on the biplane and then, oh, there's the Lost Hex. Let's go there.
Or, I mean, even to get even more literal, the OVA, where they're flying in a storm and the tornado crashes.
Oh, yeah.
Sonic and Tails on the biplane coming across a thing is a perfect way to start any story in its simplicity.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important that they have the biplane because, as we know, that calls back to Sonic's history as a fighter pilot. And that is so intrinsically a part of Sonic's history and lore that we really need to acknowledge it every time.
Oh God. God, speaking of like things that feel very non-Sonic, is that, you know, after the plane is struck and you get just 3 wordless panels of it spiraling to the ground, and then it just cuts to Sonic waking up. Like, we don't see the crash.
Just waking up in the back room from Five Nights at Freddy's.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, I mean...
But for real though, like, I feel like that is your first, like, oh, whoa, that was a little scary. Like, you know, we have seen Sonic and Tails crash before, and they're fine because they're cartoon animals made of star stuff. They're never going to get hurt. Except, no, yeah, we cut straight to Sonic waking up, and he's alone and confused, and you flip a couple of pages and realize, oh, Sonic is literally hurt. He has had his ankle... Well, would you say bandaged up?
It's put in a brace.
Yeah. It's put in a brace, but it's like a rusty, nasty looking brace that looks like some sort of horrible contraption that you'd get in a Saw movie almost.
Yeah.
So that's like, and I wonder if that's intentional at least.
I think it works as a great narrative device for a horror story because it means that Sonic can't just dash out of there and he's actually at risk for whatever he encounters on this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is something, as much as it, you know, because it ended up as a potential trope on our own fanfic roulette. As much as that happens in fanfic, I don't actually think it's happened many times in a real Sonic scenario, unless you count.
Closest we got is Sonic Labyrinth, where he's had his shoes replaced with slow shoes.
I think the scene where he wakes up is also like really well established by just all the dilapidated robots in the back, because of the fact that like a lot of their like front coverings and faces and stuff have like old dried liquid dripping down from there.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously this is a kid's book, it's not going to be blood, but it gives it gives like the look of that, and it could be just like either water damage or old oil or something like that, but it helps. I mean, it sells.
The rust on Sonic's brace looks a bit like blood. Like,
yeah, it does.
And you know, intentional probably.
And I mean, it might seem like the most basic thing in the world, but here are these like round, happy, you know, faces from classic badniks that you're used to seeing in like the bright colored 16-bit games. And here they are with literally like gaping, soulless, dead eyes. Like there is nothing behind them. Like, I don't think these guys are okay.
Kind of reminds me of Hollow Knight.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, very much so, yeah.
Like the lighting in this whole sequence is just so good. Like Sonic walking through the tunnel and then the red eye reactivates to look down on him. It's perfect.
It's that little fella from Death Egg Act 1 that I love.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
One of those eyeballs. Yeah, red eye.
I do love when he shows up in comics because it's happened more than once at this point.
Yep.
On this podcast.
Yeah.
Sonic is worried. He's hurt. He himself is hurt. Tails is nowhere to be seen, but he still is trying to keep the mood light. Maybe more for his own benefit than anyone else, as he's like elongating Tails' name, like, Tails, where are you, little bro, Mr. Prower? It's cute.
The color does return for a moment, though, when he goes, like, I don't want to cover every single thing that happens here, but it's nice seeing the color return when he finds that sunflower in the little item box, I guess it is.
I know, it's a beautiful little Sonic CD sunflower, or a Sonic 1, I guess. It's a miniature version of one of those, yeah.
Well, that's not all he finds.
The friggin' egg carrier!
Oh god, the egg carrier. Will Ian Flynn stop with all these pointless nostalgic references? I hate being reminded of old things as a Sonic fan of that anyway. It's the egg carrier.
Danny, why did you let Ian Flynn talk you into putting that?
That's my favorite thing, is like attributing all the errors of Sonic and to Ian Flynn, the one person who ruined it forever. Even when he's not there.
I gotta say, before I forget, Daniel Barnes is quite a funny follow on social medias. I would go check him out.
Again, an ascended fan.
Yes.
Yep.
And I was going to say quite the inspiration in other ways because he is ripped as and got me going back to the gym as well. Love that picture of him wearing, I think, the Sonic Puma shoes from the first movie, doing the Sonic Adventure 1 pose.
I'm pretty sure it's at the end of this issue.
Oh yeah, on his spotlight. Yep. So you'll see it right there.
That's the egg carrier, completely like desaturated, falling to pieces.
I know. Sonic has picked up, I forget, is it just...
The Miles Electric.
Yeah, the Miles Electric tablet, again, wondering, Tails doesn't go far without this. Something must be wrong. And finds looks to be a little Coconut's Badnik peering at him from between, from the shadows. And then it crawls out, and it's this amalgamation of a Coconut's torso on a Caterpillar body, and it really feels like when Buzz and Woody meet Sid's
I was
toys
literally
in Toy
thinking
Story.
Sid's toys. Like that was the first thing I thought when I saw that.
That same literally like uncanny valley, like oh, these aren't necessarily threatening, but I can't tell. Are they gonna get me?
Seeing the like hybrid thrown together badniks does remind me of a Sonic the Comic storyline, the Barth storyline.
Yes.
We don't talk about Barf.
I know, because it's shit. This is good. But that's just like when my mind immediately went to as an old fan. But yeah, these are way better.
Not to pick on STC artists, but yes, these look like they might have actually referenced some pictures of badniks before they drew them. Oh, and then Sonic is thinking to himself that maybe he's just dreaming. Maybe this is all some kind of crazy nightmare as he backs into
I want this page at like the maximum possible depth so I can hang it up on my wall.
A full page, no dialogue, no sound effects reveal of Mechasonic Mark II in his rusty glory, wearing this badass torn cape, and
so cool.
Man, yep. And Sonic immediately recognizes him
someone who
too.
has always thought that robots wearing torn capes can look real stupid. I'm looking at you, Dark of the Moon Megatron. This works.
Yeah, this is just a cool... I mean, I don't even know where this started. This seems like it might be a manga anime thing where, like, yes, it is technically a cloak cape, but then when you look close, it is just a piece of fabric that has been, like, perfectly thrown over the character's shoulder. I remember, what was it? Was it Halo 4 did that with Master Chief? And 5, and people were like, oh, it's Master Chief. Wait, why is he wearing that over his armor? Oh, well, it looks cool. Who cares?
Rule of cool.
Yep, exactly. I love Rule of Cool.
But this is Mechasonic, the guy who, honestly, we don't see much of anymore, despite being one of the coolest around in all of Sonic, in my opinion.
Bro had his own super form.
Yeah, I love this guy, and here he is, like, all torn to pieces, but still looking menacing as hell, with a new color scheme, but not intentionally. Yeah, I love this. Sorry, that's one of the things that made me excited about it. It's like, oh, my boy is back. Great. Like, it's actually good.
Yep. Sorry, that picture.
Luke just sharing a picture in the group chat of Ultra Magnus with a big cloak, despite having his massive shoulder, whatever those things are.
Why did the Twin Towers on his shoulder?
He's always had those things, but yeah. Oh no. Get Starscream away from that anyway.
I'm also noticing, like, in these first couple panels and pictures where Mechasonic like is actually fully displayed and not just in the shadows, his cloak is still covering his right arm, which we finally find after Sonic tries to do an attack. Oh, his right arm is different now. It's that the crab meat claw and everything.
Is it the crab meat or is it the shell cracker? Actually, I have to compare.
Yeah, it's either like a crab meat arm or it could be the the dinosaur from Lava Reef's neck. I like it. It is obviously from other Badniks. Same with his what is that? His left leg is because God, is that a buzzsaw from, was that Metropolis Zone had those guys?
It was Metallic Madness in CD.
Yeah. That's just very cool. All these badniks have been...
I do think it is a crab meat because the shellcracker arm has spikes on it.
Yeah, that's true.
There you go.
I'm not used to seeing the interesting arm shape, though.
One last thing about this sequence is I love, we've been talking about the color this whole time, is that as soon as Sonic bumps into Mecha Sonic, like red and orange starts to like come into the room because of his visor, his mono eye starts to light up. And so you get this great blend of like the colors getting more like fiery as they are. Sonic thinks he is about to fight Mecha Sonic, and then he decides to make a run for it because his ankle hurts too much. And then the reds fade away and then come back as soon as Mecha Sonic turns the corner. It's just it's great.
Yes,
it's
it
fantastic.
Really great, like they really worked to make this. To make a horror scene, like a scene, because it's horror, a lot of the time you got a character running from some unknown threat, if it, in most like this kind of thing, and they have to work to do that because, as we know, Sonic doesn't actually experience fear. He's a force of nature, and he's not the kind of character who has actual emotions. He's more of a metaphor. Okay, sorry, but actually, that is the kind of it is the kind of thing that does upset people though when they see Sonic do this. And I get it. But it's more interesting like this.
Well, here, I'll throw this out, Sonic is not, like, cowering and peeing his pants. He's realizing that he is not at his... He has met his limit because he is injured. So it is less like Sonic is visibly afraid. Although, of course, he gets surprised, but he's being tactful.
Yeah. I think
it's like Sonic without rings right now.
Yeah.
That's kind of vibe.
I do love that, yes, he manages to get away to another large room and what looks like a factory, or I think it ends up being like almost like a recycling plant because it dumps all these robot parts into the into like the furnace. But yes, Sonic does hop into one of the egg capsules that has nothing in it. He even laments that he's like, Sonic the Hedgehog hiding from robots? Ugh.
I love the way that Mecha Sonic gets him out as well. He just pushes down the button like you would in the game.
Yeah. The beans are about
great inversion.
And he uses a tiny one of the panels to like skateboard away,
or tries to until he runs into Tails.
I just want to say I love the face that Sonic makes as he's like skateboarding away. Just the big like blah, 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 face.
Oh yeah, neener.
Yeah, I don't care what anyone says.
eyes.
It's the kind of shit he would do in Sonic X. Like, come on.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yep. Slapping his ass. No, I love, yes, Sonic is reunited with Tails and also an E-Series robot. I love that he does do the semi-threatening thing of slapping away Sonic's little manufactured skateboard here. So again, you're like, what is this guy's deal? And then Tails is here and he's like, oh no, it's fine, Sonic. Don't worry about it. They're all good robots. And he's like, okay.
They're all Scrapniks.
Yep.
You know what I'm just noticing now? Like, Sigma's... Oh, yeah, this is Sigma, by the way.
What the Sigma? That's for the kids out there.
Update your virus software.
I only just noticed that... one of his feet is like a wheel, but I only just noticed that it's like super deflated because when it's on the ground, there's like a bunch of rubber just like folded out from it. So just further showing the dilapidated everything here.
I can't tell if it's been replaced or if he's lost. Yeah, I think it has been replaced with like another Badnik part because the other one looks like the standard like E-Series like alien claw foot. It's like, yeah, he found the part that works, but like the tire wasn't rated for his weight. The PSI is too low.
Looks like the one from what? Sonic CD, the little guys on those the little unicycle guys.
The Metallic Madness with the like little blades that will switch between the top and the bottom.
Yeah. I love I love the panel of them walking away. He's doing like a nice big strut as he says, your forgiveness is requested for the crashing of your airplane. But yes, this is E117 Sigma. And he explains that, let's see, does he say the storm was caused by them? I can't remember.
It was caused by the Death Egg's climate disruption system or something. Which I guess it has. I suppose that if it's the Death Egg, it's got to have all sorts of nasty, unnecessary shit in it.
Oh, yes. He does say it was caused by, the station's malfunctioning climate disruptor, which, yes, I imagine was an Eggman invention, hey, building this big station, let's fuck up the climate at the same time. It'll be great, trust me.
And a powertrain warranty, why not?
But we literally get a big 2-page where Sigma says, "Welcome, gentlemen, to Scrapnik Island." And this, beautiful reveal that the storm has ceased. And I guess this is part of literally the other half of the shell of the Death Egg that has fallen away, and it's like an entire ecosystem has sprung out.
Yeah, nature has reclaimed it, basically.
Lovely aesthetic.
Nature's healing.
Adorable panels of Tails.
Yes.
Sonic clocks. He's going to have a big geek out moment, and of course he does.
Although he's still giving Mecha the stink eye, which may be warranted considering he's glitching out a little bit, but I'm sure that won't lead to anything.
Another, like what I said, a great zero dialogue except for a heh from Sonic.
God.
I mean, it literally is. But then, yes, he glares at Mecha, and then we get, he literally has a glitch, and his mono eye kind of fades from I would say a good guy shade of yellow orange to the more standard evil red glow, and it's just so good, man. It conveys so much, and ends with a shot of another figure looking upon Mecha Sonic and our heroes, and
knock knock.
Holy shit. It's that guy that was only in Sonic Advance.
It's Mecha Knuckles with the hat, because he's got to have the hat. Knuckles has to have the hat these days.
Yes.
Any iteration of Knuckles.
But he's got a new hat.
Yeah.
Oh my fucking god, he's got the OVA hat!
He's also swapped out one of his hands with a big old spike ball, because you would. He doesn't say anything, he's just there.
The fact that he's there, though, is enough, because I don't know that he's ever been used in anything else since Sonic Advance, not even comics.
Metal Knuckles has had, more comic adaptation. He's appeared in, he was in Archie, he was in IDW's, classic thing. Yeah, Metal Knuckles.
He just showed up in Superstars.
And that guy's from Sonic R. This guy's from, an advanced game, but I suppose you can still legally buy Sonic R, so...
I remember, again, another reason to follow Danny on Twitter is I think he got into some behind the scenes to where that was just they wanted to shoot their shot and said, once they submitted their story stuff to Sega, which is, if you didn't know, being a Sonic fan, that anytime any writer, whether they're American, Canadian, Japanese, whatever, does something with Sonic, they have to get every single word and concept approved by Sega. Mm. Just reminding everyone out there in TV land that that's how it works. And they were like, can we use Mecha Knuckles, the one from Sonic Advance? And they were like, yeah, sure. Sure, it was more complicated than that, but yeah, they obviously said yes. I remember, that was a pretty big pop-off when this got announced, because it was one of the teasers, and it looks really cool.
I'm surprised that they used Mecha Knuckles just because he was so forgotten. I'm surprised they used Mecha Sonic because it's a classic character in a modern story, and you don't see that anymore.
Yeah.
That was the sign that they're opening up the gates a little bit. We know that those worlds are the same, but we've not actually seen much of actual crossover in the current comics. So Oh, possibilities are there.
Endless possibility.
There's a lot of same brain going on between you and me today, Jeremy.
I mean, I have to, every time we're about to start recording, I have to not use the phrase "I'm here" because then it's just I'm here. Reaching for the ground. Anyway.
don't blow out your voice midway through the episode.
But yep, that's issue 1. It's great.
So basically, we've established this is a belated spin-off of Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
Yes.
The thing that I wanted to have. And it's great.
The titular Scrapnik Island is like an island of misfit toys, like led by this late stage E-series robot who has collected and salvaged all of the abandoned badniks he can and tries to keep everyone going with all the spare parts from the Death Egg. And it's just great. I love it.
It rules.
Mecha Sonic is their like titular, like I don't even think Sigma, unless I'm misremembering, like even calls himself the leader. He's just the one with like, he can reprogram Eggman. He can strip out Eggman's like quote unquote evil programming is something they talk about a lot. And basically,
I feel like having a character who looks like Gamma saving a bunch of robots is kind of like, that's in the spirit of Sonic Adventure. Just in the more sort of actually saving them instead of destroying them to save them. Everyone has their own approach.
It's kind of like, a yin and yang thing where like Gamma saves the robots by releasing the Flickian side, and then Sigma saves them by letting them continue to exist without them. So
because I feel like Gamma's story is connected to the animal inside, but he still has his own life. But this one, it's just the life of the robot.
Yeah,
and I like that.
So it's a nice way of kind of seeing both sides of the equation getting the happy ending they deserve.
And I've always just loved that story. It's just one of my favorite concepts in sci-fi to where, I always feel like it can be well done where you can have a really well done story where it's like, I guess I think of the Matrix is probably the biggest touchstone for taking the like, oh yes, humanity has developed these beings that do our work for us and are vaguely humanoid, but we basically treat them like slaves, which is not a thing the Matrix invented, but it's a large touchstone. And so that's why whenever I watch or read something that has that, I'm like, well, I know deep in my heart I would be nice to the robots because because of just the concept of like what makes a living being. Like I think that's why like one of my favorite sci-fi stories is like Ghost in the Shell, specifically Standalone Complex, because it just straight up goes to like, it's not even not to make a stupid reduction meme thing of it, but it's not like, oh, do robots have a soul? It's literally like, well, do humans? What is a soul? What makes a soul? Like if something can think and act and move on its own and has a personality, is that not, the evidence of a soul? And here it is being talked about in the Sonic the Hedgehog universe with all these adorable little badniks and egg robos, and I just really love it. And that's how issue 2 opens, with what, about 4 or 5 pages of, again, no dialogue, but of Sigma washing ashore of the Death Egg wreckage and immediately patching up an egg robo, and it shows how he started putting the Scrapniks together and how they led him to the ruins of the original Mechasonic Mark II, like rusting on the beach.
It's just such a great sequence, like not even any dialogue, just showing how things came to be, and I really think this works effectively. I love how it jumps from the flashback sequence to Sonic and Tails sitting on that exact same spot on the shore. It's a great bit of flash forward.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we see like essentially the corpse of Mechasonic having fallen from Sky Sanctuary, I think. And yeah, this is a nice little parallel there.
Sonic lounging in the rustiest beach chair to ever exist. Again, I really hope they go straight to Freedom HQ and get tetanus shots after this.
Oh
Yeah.
I love Tails is up to his old tricks and is creating a translator module on his Miles Electric so Sonic can understand the badniks and
very similar to the Wisp translator module from Colors.
Tails explains like, they can talk just only through the, these speakers. And you would think, they're just going to start, blabbing away. But no, all the little ones are just, hello, hello, hello.
It's like the turret guns
adorable.
from Portal.
Oh, yeah.
Are you still there? I love Sigma's line of, you have given my Scrapnik the gift of gab.
How have you managed this?
I just love the way he talks. Like, he's not just like, whoa, they can talk. He's like, no, the gift of gab.
Yep. And I think it's kind of fascinating that, Sigma and Tails have been talking, but like, again, just like putting the humanity in this robot that Sigma can repair the robots and can do some like a little bit of like reprogramming, but like, of course, Tails being who he is better at it. And you're like, oh, Tails is better than the robot at rewriting programs. Good for him. I love Sigma, not his catchphrase, but I just love his mannerisms to where instead of just saying, I'm sorry or I apologize, he always says, forgiveness requested. He's assessed the damage of their plane, and it's all busted up. They think they can put it back together, but they need
it's mostly superficial damage, but their integrated drive generator needs to be replaced.
That's like going to the hospital and being like, the doctor's like, good news, it's mostly superficial. You just have a few cuts and bruises and stuff like that. The bad news is your heart stopped.
you need a new heart. Yeah. Tails does clarify it's what makes electricity for the plane. So I'm sure it's a fusion core type thing.
Yeah. Thankfully, they have a spare somewhere on the Death Egg. So Sigma and Tails go off to go looking for it.
Or no,
excuse me.
Sigma, Sonic, and Mecha Sonic go off to look for it while Tails stays to keep working on the plane.
Yes.
With help from this little cadre of egg robos wearing adorable clothes.
Oh, yeah. They've all got the... I mean, it's not quite Huey, Dewey, and Louie, but they all have their signature.
I'm pretty sure that's
clothing.
the OVA hat.
Yeah, I just thought that.
Oh, yeah, it is. On the far right, the little pink cap. Yep. Oh, that's cute. Oh, wait, hold on. No. I was thinking, is that it looks like it's tied around his waist, a sweatshirt. I almost said, is that like an old Eggman cape?
That's what I thought at first as well. It might be. It's hard to say.
Yeah, it looks like it's got sleeves, though. That's quite funny. And I can't quite tell what the other cap is.
Yeah, where would they get clothes? I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, I guess Robotnik is the only person who would have clothes in the Death Egg, I suppose.
He does cover his nudity. That is true.
Yeah.
He feels shame about nothing except for his body.
Because he threw out all his old costume when he made the upgrade to his new suit. That's what it is.
True.
That's the real reason he keeps fighting Sonic. He's jealous that he gets to walk around nude.
Aren't I one of God's creatures too? Why can't I?
Put that thing away.
So, like, going into the Death Egg now, we notice that Mecha Sonic is watering the sunflower in the little egg capsule, and Sigma explains that that's basically Mecha Sonic's whole deal. Like, he found it washed up on the shore one day, and he wants to take care of it. And that is wonderful to read about, especially for somebody like me who genuinely loves the trope of, like, enemy turned friend and redemption arcs and stuff like that. And, it's literally one of my favorite like story elements in all of storytelling, like the enemy turned friend and like a bad guy becoming good. Like, I mean, because you hear me gush all the time about like Mr. Tinker and how I love the dynamic of modern Eggman, like sometimes wistfully or like painfully remembering that. So just I love it.
Yeah, and I mean, not to hit the nail right on the head, but even like the Metal Sonic in the OVA has tiny bits of that near the end.
Yeah.
Specifically when him and Sonic's mind kind of get scrambled. Ooh. Ooh, foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Speaking of scrambled, I'm sorry, no.
The scrambled egg carrier.
Yeah.
I don't want to step on Luke. I think Luke was going to say something there.
I was just going to say it's cute seeing like Mecha Sonic trying to do something different. The robots basically saying, yeah, we want to eventually stretch our servos beyond just this island. We want to be able to go out and explore the world as well.
Which is why they're working on the egg carrier so they can do that. So they can strike it out from on the new frontier, just like that one song in that one Sonic game.
I'm here.
And then, of course, it's revealed the entire time this creepy ass Mecha Knuckles is following right behind them.
I love that last panel on the page of like after the others have walked away, it's just Mecha Knuckles, and that just looks like its own like. I'm sorry to use the term, but creepypasta image.
He must be following behind them at like such a like slow but deliberate pace so that none of them like pick up on it.
Yeah.
Like don't hear him clanking around back there. So
he's observing.
I do hate to keep referencing things like that, but it does remind me of like an animatronic left in the background staring at you. So.
Yeah. Doesn't always have to be that thing, you know. Mascot horror and creepy robots existed before, you know, the thing we're not talking about because we're all over 30 years old.
Meanwhile, Sigma's like, all right, gang, let's split up and look for clues.
Yep.
There's a flashlight, Sonic the Hedgehog. I remember, and I'm sure people, again, if you follow Danny, I remember he wasn't sure if this like little speech from Sonic hit, and I just want to say that it absolutely does.
Yes.
Like this to me perfectly feels like this is something Sonic, in the comic, literally these 2 issues, has been building up. Like, he literally tells Mecha, like, after he saw him watering the sunflower, he, you know, kind of jokes with him, says, you're a big softie. And then here is Sonic being genuinely saying, like, hey, man, I'm sorry I assumed the worst. Like, it's obvious that you've, you know, you have literally grown as a person and you're not a bad guy anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just great, man. I love Sonic's expression. Like, you can tell he's letting his guard down. He's being genuine because, like, I mean, he is seeing Mecha Sonic do something he believes everyone in the world should do, which is have the chance to make their way through the world and make their own correct choices.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're an ex-evil Eggman robot.
And that is bad, actually, because Sonic shouldn't be talking this much, apparently.
No!
And Danny agreed. Yeah, you're right. I fucked up by having Sonic have this real moment with the character. Whoops.
No.
And I love that Mecha almost takes him up on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He reaches out his hand for a moment there.
Yeah, they're about to do like the, you know, I mean, I would like to think they're going to do the Predator handshake. But no, it was, but yes, Mecha Sonic instead senses danger and yanks Sonic out of the way because Mecha Knuckles has finally decided to make his move. And
With his unique font. When he shows up.
I know, I still love that.
I like that because it reminds me of the old Archie stuff of when a new character shows up and they
Sonic the Hedgehog trademark.
I think it's neat that when after Sonic makes a little quip that they kind of have a little standoff for a second before Mecha Sonic like looks down a hallway for escape. But I think it's just a neat little detail to have a panel where they're just like kind of staring each other down, like who's going first, you or me.
Yeah.
Yep.
And even like, I mean, you pun not intended, but you see the gears turning in Mecha Sonic's mind of like, he knows Sonic is not at his he's not at his full strength, and he also knows like what kind of threat this Mecha Knuckles poses, and so he decides to get them both out of there instead. And meanwhile, Sigma's he's doing the task he was given. He found the thingamajig for the plane, and then the fight is brought to him, and
he says gears and starters, which is a Bellism, right? Like from IDW.
I know. I like the when Mecha Sonic scoops Sonic up. It's not an ope. It's not an OPE. It is like oop, but still that same like oop. Yep, let me squeeze past you right there. Sorry.
So Sonic is from Ohio.
Sigma isn't actually that surprised to see Mecha Knuckles. He just calmly explains that like his original programming was too strong for him to remove, so he's kind of approaching Mecha Knuckles like a scared dog. He's like, "Oh no, Sonic is our friend."
Specifically, he's meant to protect the Master Emerald Shrine, just like Knuckles, and it's in there a little bit too deep.
And unfortunately for poor Sigma, that does not work, and he gets one of Knuckles' famous uppercuts and is knocked out cold.
Before that happens, though, Sonic's like when Sigma explains that to him, that he's got this stuff, he's got like the hard-coded programming, Sonic's like, so he's a blockhead, just like the real deal. And once again, Knuckles catching strays, he's not even here.
I know. Oh yeah, Sonic even said earlier when he was hiding in the capsule, he said something like, I'm glad Knuckles isn't here to see this. I'd never hear the end of it, so... It's like, yeah, now he's making fun of Knuckles for the scenario he made up in his own head. See, I love that. That's just a funny Sonicism. Yeah, and then we get a fantastically orchestrated fight between Mecha Sonic and Knuckles here.
How cool is that, though? Like a fight between these two boss characters.
And it's so well drawn, too.
Yes, and then you start getting these flashes from the perspective of both robots of how Mecha is seeing in his brain the real Knuckles, and then a combination of Sonic and Knuckles, the two characters he fought on the floating island, and how they're taunting him and going to destroy him because he's a worthless robot. And even Eggman shows up, like his latent programming is almost tormenting him, calling him trash.
It's a great sequence where, just every hit Mecha Sonic takes, just one thing echoing in his mind.
It's trash.
Thanks, Justin.
But yeah, like, they take pieces of Sonic's speech and the things that he's been saying so far to basically have him be taunting Mecha Sonic. So if Sonic didn't have that really cool speech, this wouldn't have happened. Oh no, that's the problem! Sonic caused this! Gosh dang it, Sonic. Shouldn't talk so much.
It's actually a metaphor for generational trauma.
Yep.
No.
I love the glitched Eggman, by the way, with the Knuckles gloves.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and the Sonic and Knuckles getting absorbed / coming out of his glitchy body. It's very, very cool.
The whole sequence is very good, especially that shot of Mecha Sonic falling through the code.
Oh, that's so cool.
And the frame of the pages also glitching out around the rest of the panels.
Yeah.
And then he wakes up and spin dashes the soul out of Mecha Knuckles, and then
he grabs him from the back of the head, and then spin dashes right into him. Oh, that's so cool.
And then grabs Sonic by the throat and holds him up against the wall. And I love ending on what could be another very scary moment, but I like the diffusion from Sonic where he goes, no high five then?
Oh, he's mad now.
Yep. Next time, Tails builds a fucking gun.
I mean, yeah. It's not a toaster, but it'll have to do.
I was going to say, you beat me to it.
I mean, you can't help but imagine it when you see Tails, loaded, he is, completely strapped here. And my mind immediately goes to the waffle cannon from the Robotnik's laboratory.
Oh.
No, I believe it's, what is it called? It's based on the light gun that worked on the Genesis. I forget.
The Menacer?
Yes, the Menacer. We open the third issue with poor Sonic on they do explain why. I was about to say, why is there a bed with padding on it? But we do explain that this device was not completely made from scrap that is on Sonic's head. It looks like some kind of Eggman brain drain helmet.
I appreciate him being like, this whole giving my enemies the benefit of the doubt only for my trust to be betrayed thing is getting kind of old, not going to lie.
Yeah, I like that.
It's a good callback.
Even Sonic knows, because this is, like you said, this came out, what was it? After Metal Virus, after...
After Surge, even.
Yeah, after Surge, and... Sonic is aware. But yes, we get some more flashbacks as one of the Scrapniks is witnessing Mecha Sonic, holding Sonic against his will. He runs to go find Sigma. We get another flashback of when Sigma brought Mecha Sonic back from the dead, essentially.
Yeah.
And how this island, he is free, and this is their home. They are safe, free, and they are home. And Sigma wakes up to see the remains of Mecha Knuckles. And man, this kind of hits where he, you would how much Sigma believes in what he's doing, because instead of like running off to find Mecha and the real Sonic, he scoops up Mecha Knuckles and holds him like a little baby.
Yeah.
he is really just kind of the sad, disappointed parent in this moment.
Yeah, because even, I really like that even when Knuckles attacked them, he was like not... he wasn't immediately put on guard, because he's like, oh no, let me explain the whole thing. It's fine. We're still working on his brain, and et cetera, et cetera. And then that just didn't work out. But yes, the little Scrapnik has found Tails and has relayed the information. Oh man, I love those egg robos now. Him and Tails, they are going to rescue Sonic, and yes, Tails digs through a pile of scrap, and with just a few twists of his screwdriver puts together like we said, a perfect replica of a Sega Minicer, and let's go hunt some robots.
This whole sequence is very Alien.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I was about to say, I noticed now the other egg robo has the it's a bandana on his on their head.
Yeah.
And so yes, very, very like Rodriguez from Alien. I mean, you've got the motion tracker on the Miles Electric. It's very much a nod to Aliens, possibly Predator as well. But yeah, a great excuse to give non-Shadow the Hedgehog characters guns here. Because the egg robos have their little blasters and Tails has got his. They stumble upon poor Sigma, who kind of gets them caught up. And
basically saying that, he tried to, when he was fixing up Mecha Sonic, he tried to fix as much of the programming as possible, but he's so much more advanced than all the other robots that he couldn't totally like overwrite some of that original Eggman programming, and it seems to have like gotten back out and taken over. This is my error, not Mecha's. He is not thinking clearly, Tails. Just very, very sad, very, empathetic to Mecha's situation.
Yeah, I like how it differentiates it from Mecha Knuckles, to where it does seem to imply that like Mecha Knuckles had like the one core programming thing, the protect the Emerald Shrine, and maybe less of a, I don't know if you want to say a personality chip, but then we saw how it manifested in Mecha Sonic to where it is almost like, and I'm not making light of this, I'm saying it's used very well. It is almost like a mental illness that is fighting Mecha Sonic's brain. He wants to be better, and yet this is tormenting him. And then he appears out of the shadows like a fucking badass with his red glowing eye.
And we can hear him because of the translator.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I love his very first line is just this really drawn out, on the contrary, Sigma, and it's so good.
My mind
finally talks.
Has never been clearer.
Yes.
Behind you.
Oh, so that was a really good read, by the way.
And then they start shooting their guns at Mecha.
So anyway, I started blasting.
Yeah, basically.
Like this whole sequence is just so good. It's perfect, like sci-fi horror movie stuff where every time they look away, someone is missing. They're firing into the darkness, like not sure if they're actually hitting anything. It's just perfectly framed right from the jump.
Yeah, I like how the colors here, you have, instead of like the dark purples and blues where like it was scary, but ultimately ended up not being a threat. We've kind of gone back to like dark greens that kind of echo like the scary storm, with the light coming from the Miles electric tablet, which again gets interrupted anytime Mechasonic shows up with that like fiery red. And then I can't tell as Tails' like party of Egg Robos and Sigma keep getting picked off, like it just keeps getting darker and darker until he realizes he's all alone and it's just him and Mechasonic. And Mechasonic, he wants to take Tails' tablet because it will help the device he has Sonic hooked up to. And poor Tails. I mean, I picture he's probably trying to sound as badass as he can when he tells Mechasonic to come take it, but he still stutters a little bit. Poor guy.
And Mecha's dealing with abandonment issues too, because he's like, I waited for him. I was so certain he would come to find me and we would try again, but instead he abandoned me, left me here to rust on this forsaken junk pile. A grave error on his part. And now that error shall be corrected.
Yep. I feel like this might have even been I mean, this echoes like what has happened to Belle. What has happened to Belle throughout the story, where like here is Mecha Sonic, who has been there almost since the beginning, and still somewhere in his programming. And I mean, it makes me love Eggman, like how he can be a goofy, silly guy, but then, is capable of like just pure nasty evil. Like, why would you program your robot to be able to feel abandoned? Was it just like a trade-off? Like, oh, I gotta make him so smart so he can take down Sonic. And then the flip side of that is so he realizes basically his creator abandoned him and is never coming back. And in fact, like, Mechasonic doesn't realize it, but was replaced once again with his brother, Metal Sonic. Like, he is the favorite son now, and like that would make this so much worse if he knew.
Maybe.
Which, hey, maybe he does. Like not to spoil it, but yeah, when he sees into Sonic's mind, maybe that is part of what he learns and helps him push through it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe he was like trying to make Mechasonic he said he's his greatest creation to date in the flashback. And then after a while he realized, oh, this bit clingy though.
Well, I mean, yeah, he can absorb the Master Emerald, but geez, he keeps texting me.
You up?
What you doing?
Poor Tails gets his little butt kicked and thrown down the trash chute in a slightly horrifying sequence of images that he's gonna be okay, but still, just bodied that child.
Yep.
I feel bad that like I can't help but think like when he's falling, yes, it's for dramatic effect, but I'm like, yeah, two tails, you fly.
Yeah, but it's a very small it's a very small area, and that's fair. It's not like he needs the running start, he needs to be in the right position. It's not like it's not like a jetpack comes out of his butt. He's not got if you flipped a helicopter upside down, it's not just gonna
that's
right
fair.
itself.
That's very fair.
Sorry, I'm just being no Sonic fans, you're wrong, I'm right. I apologize.
Also, think about it, if Tails is falling in the games, you can't like fly again until you get back and you land on solid ground. So
that's true, yes.
And he's tired. He's just got smacked around and choked by Mechasonic, so he's... Yeah.
See, this is why...
And it's just better. It just looks cooler this way.
Yes. Hey, rule of cool.
Yes.
Why didn't Tails just fly? Because then we wouldn't have this cool sequence of panels. That's why.
This is why I'm the audience, like, sit in so that I can bring these up and be like, no, shut up, listen. I'm just kidding by that, by the way.
So, no, you're fine. So Mecha comes back. He's got, in Sonic's words, Tails' tablet gizmo. I love that. I just love to picture that Tails has told him dozens of times what it actually is, and he forgets as soon as he tells him.
Of course, he boots up the main computer, and oh yeah, baby, we're doing the brain swap episode. Woo! Also, I have to scroll down to the letters page and give a shout out to Vega Amigo and something Sonic related, because those plushes are incredible. Holy crap.
Awesome.
Yeah. Nice little plushes of Mecha Knuckles and Mecha Sonic that are just gorgeous. And
I mean, specifically the Scrapnik versions, too. Yep. So, wow. That is cool beans.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, I don't think these letters get included in the trade. It's just that, which is kind of unfortunate. I remember when I started reading the individual ones to catch up, I was like, oh man, there's a letters segment? That's so cute.
Also, there's this variant cover near the back that is, oof. It's Sonic strapped to the operating table, but it's got a bit... That's a bit morbid. I quite like
Adam
it.
Bryce Thomas killing it as usual.
Yes.
There's a syringe there, there's a scalpel, some forceps.
So that brings us into the final part, as Mecha Sonic is booting up the old machine, basically explaining that Eggman had built it some time ago to with the idea of using his mind to directly control his badniks, and
I'm sorry.
It's just a picture. There's a picture of Eggman trying to control a completely unbothered caterpillar while pressing his fingers against his temples to be like, do what I say, damn you!
now I will control this caterpillar with the power of my mind.
Oh, dang.
I would say this is the most Alfred Coleman Eggman image I've seen in a long time.
Yes. Oh, I just love with 2 lines to make the caterpillar's eyes half-lidded. Just tells such a story that he's just, it's like a dog just staring off into space. You're trying to teach it to sit, and it is just a million miles away.
I mean, in Mecha Sonic's own words, just as he's cracked it, he got bored and scrapped the whole project, which is very Eggman.
Yes.
Yep.
I like how in the previous issue, like near the end, Sonic was joking about like, oh, what, are you going to suck my brains out? And then at the beginning, he's like, wait, you actually going to?
Yeah, he does.
You's a freak.
But yes, Mecha's big plan is to essentially download his brain into Sonic's body so that he can get past his own limitations and be able to actually move off the island. You can run across water. With your speed, I can finally escape this infernal garbage dump. I'll make sure the doctor never forgets me again.
And then Omega 123 comes in and says, no, me first. But before the brain jacking happens, we do see a few Scrapniks looking terrified, especially like the one like in the furthest in the panel, just looking horrified at the prospect of what's about to happen.
I think it might also be like he's saying like friendship is a weakness. A brief glitch in my software, and then I'm like,
yeah,
they were never my friends.
Yeah,
but we just played Scrabble last night.
And Sonic's even trying to point out, like, yeah, you don't mean that. You're full of it. But I love the idea of basically Mecha Sonic's true his original Eggman programming and his new Scrapnik programming kind of at war with one another. He begins the mind transfer, and we get this great shot of like the 50-50 of Sonic and Mecha Sonic. It's so good.
Gotta love a good 50-50 image.
I've seen like things like this in Sonic before. I feel like it's happened with Metal Sonic before in previous comics and stuff. Maybe even in the OVA. It's a good image.
Well, actually, even in the last Sonic X issue that we read, the Halloween-ish one, we had a split screen of Sonic and Tails. And even in that mediocre story, that was still a cool image.
Just works, man.
But yeah, as this process is continuing, the hiding Scrapniks suddenly jump out and interrupt the process, and the whole thing goes kablooey.
Well, actually, it goes kaboom, but close enough.
We have correct onomatopoeia here.
Yeah, I appreciate the correction.
After the dust starts to settle and the clouds start to go down, obviously Mechasonic's pissed and he notices the Scrapniks around him caused it. So he's like the angriest we've ever seen him.
It's all gone. All my work. Now I'll never get off this island. You ruined everything. I'll crush you.
Yeah. It just.
That famous quote from that one Dragon Ball game. And that's all it's from.
Look, man.
I mean, people were asking for him to say.
Look, man. Say what you will about that series, but that thing was all over the place, especially that fight. I'm not gonna lie. I heard the Doomsday from Project Chaos kick in as soon as its whole sequence started.
You can't help it, and whatever. It's part of that's one of the things that I suppose drew people's attention to Mechasonic if they weren't playing Sonic 3 and Knuckles like they should have been. But it's fine, whatever. But yeah, it's a cool moment.
It was kind of the most prominent thing that anybody did with him after Sonic 3 and Knuckles for a good long while.
Yep. So there he is. He's mad. He's got a Cyclops eye now. His eye actually has a pupil now. I noticed that when he's really upset.
Yeah.
He gets that little dot in the middle. And he gets swirly eyes. Hang on. That makes me think of something else. It's not quite the same.
But yeah, Sonic wakes up to see Mecha Cooler attacking all of the scrap. Yeah, as Sonic's waking up out of the brain transfer machine, he's actually starting to get little bits of fragments of Mechasonic's mind in his own and feeling his emotions. And this kind of builds up as the issue goes on, but it's very OVA, the whole thing.
It's just missing a part where Mechasonic ends up in a girl's crotch and gets embarrassed.
Yeah, I think this is a great, callback to that element from the OVA while also doing something meaningful with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it also just makes sense in the story. They, they're both kind of sharing a mind now. They can kind of hear each other's thoughts. So, especially with Sonic just getting acclimated to it, it makes sense that he would hear partial bits of it and maybe even the echoes of the memories of it.
And that is how you do that sort of thing, a reference to the OVA. It would have been a bit much if they did you know everything I'm going to do, but that doesn't going to help you because I know everything you're going to do. Blah, blah, blah. We get it. This works better for what they're going for.
But I think it really helps the fact that Sonic's talking about these fragments of memories and stuff, and then he has the line, "This anger, this sadness," and I think that line right there helps solidify the emotional importance of what just happened. It makes me think of the fact that you can comfort somebody as much as you can, and that's a noble and good thing to do. But if you have gone through the same thing that somebody has gone through, not that Sonic necessarily has here, but he at least now feels the implanted emotions. Nonetheless, when you've gone through the same thing that somebody else has, you can actually understand what they're going through, and you can help comfort them better. And so now Sonic has better, if not full, understanding of what Mechasonic's been going through. And I like that from an emotional resonance standpoint.
Yep.
And then Sonic overcomes his ankle injury with the power of being Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
Which I think is quite... it doesn't make a lot of sense, but whatever.
It's cool. He says, that's the thing about limits. They're meant to be broken.
Like my ankle.
And of course, Sonic does the cool infinity symbol super peel out run because I'm sure Danny asked for that specifically because it just looks cool every time. Yes.
There are things that you just do because it's cool and it works. So speaking of the OVA, I feel now that they're at the reactor boiler thing,
they're having a big fight scene around the ending of Toy Story 3.
Oh, that's better, actually.
I was thinking that, to be honest.
I thought that too. Yeah, when a little bit later in the story. But yeah, just this big old splash page. This big old splash page of them fighting in 4 different segments around the big circle pit. It just looks so cool.
I know, it's definitely Toy Story 3. Also, I would like to think with the conveyor belts leading into the fire is a little bit of Brave Little Toaster as well.
I can see
that. Oh, man,
the proto Toy Story. Love that movie.
The central incinerator also kind of reminds me of, again, the OVA, because there's that whole thing where Sonic gets his DNA and brain spliced with Metal Sonic in that scene. There's that whole the robot generator.
That's what I was going to reference earlier.
That's what it reminds me of. OVA juice all over this thing.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Right up to Sonic landing the finishing blow with a kick that destroys his brace, and
Oh, it's so cool.
Mecha Sonic doing the like slow fall back Cowboy Bebop style as the flashing.
Oh yeah. French children start singing in a choir in his mind.
And then someone says, "Welcome to the Ouch, mother."
No! Stop it! Faulerro, you keep doing this.
I tried.
Is that a line in the remake?
In the Netflix remake, the live action.
That's stupid.
I tried. I couldn't.
I haven't watched it yet.
No.
Don't.
At least there's one good live action adaptation of an anime on Netflix.
Yay!
Yeah, true.
Our heart set sales.
Just got to see Chopper, and he looks like a computer, which is fine.
Yeah.
Hey kid, I'm a computer.
Stop all the downloading.
Computer.
I feel like it's probably going to be a mix as well, though. They'll probably have, at the very least, they're going to have a Knuckles puppet on the set to interact with.
Which I'm super, I don't know. I'm super interested to see both. I mean, it's obviously going to be a voiced character, but if they just cast someone completely out of nowhere, or like, are you going to get Brina Palencia and
Ikue Otani,
yeah.
Well, it would be in Japanese because all of the original actors dubbed their live action.
That's true.
Yes, which is super cool. I mean, I don't know. Like, I really loved Brina Palencia's take, so that would be cool for me.
They'll bring back Lisa Ortiz because they love them.
Well,
I'm kidding. There's going to be nothing of 4Kids in this because it's actually going to have important
I mean,
plot
if
points.
they did bring her back, I would not complain.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I love Lisa Ortiz when she's not making the sex noises all the time.
yes.
It's funny. I brought that up recently. Someone was saying, "Oh yeah, I added a mod to add Lisa Ortiz's voice to other Sonic games." I'm like, well, that's great, but my co-host just pointed out that she sounds like she's coming every time she makes noise. And my friend goes, "Oh, you don't understand. That's a bonus for me." I'm like, fair enough.
Well,
I'm real glad I didn't
at least
bring
they're
that
being
up when
honest. Anyway.
So, yeah, putting the icing on the OVA cake, it's literally Sonic doing the grab my hand, slapped away, and Mecha Sonic slowly letting himself sink into the furnace. Except Sonic's like, no, I've seen this stupid OVA 1 billion times. I hate that ending. I'm changing it right now.
Well, this is, I mean, again, specifically, is Mecha Sonic here is saying that he's failed both of his original directives, destroy Sonic, and even his new directive, protect the Scrapniks. He says he's a failure, he's worthless, he's trash. So he's not going out heroically. He's not saying, "Oh no, you've shown me the world only needs one Sonic." He's resigning himself to a horrible death because and Sonic says, I mean, hey, Silver was the first one. Sonic gets to say a PG curse. He tells him to cut the crap, will you?
Yeah, I was like, I saw that in especially in the 2 issues before where he makes the little pun of scared the scrap out of you, and then he just says crap here, and I'm like, I'm fine with it, but I also wonder is that too much for a Sonic comic?
Not for this crap.
But I
it's like the PG swears have changed over the years.
Yeah.
Oh,
This isn't like Robots in Disguise where they start out saying scrap and then somebody gets angry and they have to start changing it to scrud.
Oh, Lord. No, I think that is interesting. That would definitely have been a big no-no, in the 90s. I mean, that was I'm sure Jake understands. I grew up in a household where I was not allowed to say fart or sucks. So crap was very much
like when we heard Dexter's coach in that one episode of Dexter's Lab say crap.
Yes. Oh my God. That exactly. But I mean, I kind of love it because I'm sure it's as close as they can get. But yeah, Sonic he's not just upset that this is happening. He's pissed because this goes against everything he was trying to, give Mecha the benefit of the doubt on.
And he straight up tells Mecha, you give yourself value and purpose, no one else. You got to live for you. That's what it really means to be free.
Amen.
That is Sonic the fucking Hedgehog right there.
Love it.
Yeah, now take my hand. And he does.
And then he realizes, oh shit, I can't actually bring you up.
I know. It's so good. I mean, this, I would almost think they would cheat and put like a little tear on his little LED eye, but they don't. But that is what it's conveying. He is, and he's choosing life. But yep, he can't lift them both up out of there. But luckily, Tails, the Scrapniks, and Sigma have made the cutest daisy chain possible to rescue everyone.
I was going to mention the tear scene, but like, should we mention that? Because that's definitely one of the things we want people to read. And
no, we got to bring this up.
Okay.
I specifically want to bring it up because it is. I know, folks. I hope everyone has taken our lighthearted ribbing of the online Sonic fandom in stride, as far as picking on people that don't like anything. That one fandom that don't like anything. But I don't actually know if I've seen any pushback on this scene, and I'm glad because I absolutely think this book, this whole series earns it. Where you see all of the Scrapniks, embracing, celebrating, asking Mecha Sonic to forgive him. He didn't know you had it that bad, buddy. I apologize. And then it turns to Sonic and Tails, and Sonic just has tears streaming down his eyes. And Tails, starts to ask if he's okay. And Sonic says, "Oh, nah. These aren't my tears." And it's just beautiful, man. I love it.
Yeah, Tails is like, Sonic, are you crying? And Sonic's like, no, I can't. I'm legally mandated to not be able to do that anymore.
See? That's what I'm talking about. But no, the very few times in like official Sonic media where we have seen Sonic get really emotional, and again, like, I think there's layers to this, to where you could take it at face value and say Sonic is like, oh no, he's not affected by this at all. Or maybe he's using that as an excuse to like, I'm not the one crying tears of joy, but
I'm not crying, you're crying.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it might be a little column A, a little column B.
Yeah, I like to think that. But, I'm thinking of like, even the people like to bring up the ending of Sonic and the Secret Rings, or, hey, episode 52 of Sonic X, the finale of that, where, there is still a tears from Sonic, but he has enough plausible deniability to where if anyone asked him about it, he'd be like, yeah, like you said, oh, no, I wasn't crying. I don't cry. Except...
I mean, like, the times when it's worked for me the most is stuff like, back in SAM where it was a different Sonic and he lost Uncle Chuck. And I'm like, yeah, of course he would.
Yeah.
But we understand that Sonic is not that Sonic here. This is Sonic the God Hog, who is his own sort of like... He is both a Sega corporate mascot and a character, but they have trouble threading that needle a lot of the time. And it's like, well...
Yeah.
This is how you do that. If you're going to do it.
Yeah, precisely. I agree, and I really like it. Like I said, again, talking about colors, like we went from the scary, like, white hot fires of the furnace, and then into this little, sub area where everyone's safe and happy, and it's all pink and purple, and I just love that last shot of Mecha Sonic too. Like, I don't know, like, that is his scrunched up crying eyes is the little, the little spiky line where his LED visor is. And
his waveform got all distorted. He was,
he's peaking.
Yep. Oh, and then we move to this lovely little epilogue as well,
where Tails has scrubbed the Eggman programming fully out of Mecha Sonic and Mecha Knuckles. And now Mecha Knuckles can embrace the true Knuckles lifestyle of standing still and looking cool with his arms crossed.
Yeah.
Yep. Leaning up against the wall, just...
What a great shot, though.
Just like the real deal, like Sonic said.
And in case anybody was afraid, the hat is okay. He still has the hat.
And the hat survived.
And Knuckles' OVA hat, which did not die.
Oh, I mean, I love this closing monologue from Metal Sonic. I mean, not to make any promises, folks, but we want to do some clips of this one for sure. But man, it's really good. Also, props to Danny for probably getting halfway through this paragraph and realizing he had to rewrite it so it doesn't sound like Dub Mewtwo. From
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. This whole ending sequence is great with the monologue and like the big wide shot of all the Scrapniks seeing Sonic and Tails off.
Not to just sound like a doofus and say, wow, this goes hard, but the line, life is disquieting, but with the help of my friends, I'll face it head on. Like, what a good line. Like, just a good line in general. Not only a great line to have in a Sonic book, but
Yeah.
a good line in general.
He's done being controlled by the words of yesterday. No, wait, sorry.
I know
we can't have any song lyric quotes in this one. It would ruin the moment a little bit.
He almost gets there. Yeah. But no, this beautiful, another almost splash page of Sonic and Tails flying off in the repaired tornado and Mecha Sonic holding his, oh, you know what it kind of reminds me of, especially clutching this flower with the cape in the wind. It almost reminds me a little bit of Nausicaa.
Yeah.
Kind of just that same stoic, like, stoicism into the future. But yes, Mecha Sonic leaves us saying he is going to live for tomorrow. The end. Hot damn.
Man.
Not bad for a story essentially about a mini boss from Sonic. I suppose he is the final boss of Sonic 3 and Knuckles if you play
in
the
a way.
Knuckles route. But yeah, man, really great. By the way, this isn't this Daniel Barnes' first actual like full-on story in the book in the IDW comics.
He had done something for I think one of the annuals, but this is the first full series.
Yeah, and coming in strong, coming in hot, like
absolutely.
Right
I mean, I know he agrees. I would love to see more long form Sonic stories from Daniel. I know he's probably pitching.
Yeah, like here's a real question. Like, I'm one of those guys who's like, if the story wraps up well enough, there are some stories that I just don't want them to ever revisit. Some characters I don't want them to ever revisit because it's like, their story is done. They got their happy ending. We don't need to see what happens after. Do you think that you want to see more of this Mecha Sonic or the Scrapniks or anybody else from this arc? Or do you think this is one that is best left kind of put the pin in it? It's all finished. It doesn't need any further exploration in future IDW stories.
From an artistic, poetic standpoint, leaving it here is the correct thing to do. From a cool shit that I would love to see eventually, nonetheless, perspective, I would not mind seeing this guy show up in one of them.
Yes,
you know?
I'm the same way. I feel like I've said it a lot on this show in particular that I'm open to almost anything as long as it's executed well, and so. Mm-hmm. I would love to see, Mecha Sonic come back. I would want the framing not to be. I mean, my inner Sonic, child dork would want to see this Mecha Sonic versus Metal Sonic.
Absolutely, that's what my brain.
But I would want it to be the right setup, like not just like, oh, Mecha Sonic, we need your help. Metal's doing bad stuff. It would have to be like, oh, Eggman discovered Scrapnik and is like, oh, just what I need, a bunch of raw materials. Go round it up.
Or even without Eggman involved, it could just be like Metal Sonic washes up on Scrapnik Island and immediately, starts causing trouble.
Or even like out scouting and is like,
we'll scout ahead and report back to Dr. Eggman.
And like they have to prevent him from getting the location back. And I don't know, I could see like that fight ending with like destroying the Metal Sonic, and then you cut straight to like Eggman being completely unaware and it was like, Metal just blipped out on radar. Oh well, I'll just whip up another, Yes, I would be open to a follow-up, but they got to have a good reason, because this does end pretty perfectly. Yeah.
I mean, you got to have Metal Sonic, like you said, Metal Sonic would have to be in it, because he's the stuff we were talking about. He's the one who wasn't abandoned, and I think you could tell an interesting story about that. like why Robotnik keeps using him.
They have hinted that in the main book, like, several times, like, and not too long ago, that, like, Metal Sonic is, it's hard to know how much, like, freedom he has, because he does have a will and, obviously ambitions, as far as Metal Overlord goes, but it does seem like there is a part that keeps choosing not to betray Eggman, because he's, I think even Sonic himself has teased him about, like, oh, you better run off and see what your master needs.
Yeah, it's a recurring thing in the IDW comics specifically, so if you're going to do that story, that's how you do it.
I'm kind of mixed on, like, if I want to see more of it, because like you said, like, artistically and, like, poetically, I think it definitely works ending here and maybe not coming back to it. The sympathetic in me wants them to get off the island to be able to explore and just not be trapped anymore. But then, like, I also run into the factor of, like, if Mecha Sonic, as he is now, like, does encounter Metal Sonic and sees that, like, as we said, Metal Sonic is the favored son. I would hope not, but I part of me doesn't want to see any regression in Mecha Sonic's character.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't, like, if it's a different kind of rage, if it's like the, righteous, I mean, maybe, like, he has, like, come along this way, maybe he's the one who's sort of, like, there to be like, so after all this time, you, Metal Sonic, are still sticking with Eggman after all of them.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure, like, he's left him behind before a few times.
Like, try and get through to him, like, say, I literally know exactly what you're going through, and I know what's going to happen when you finally fail Eggman for the last time, is you're going to get tossed out too.
That's what I'm thinking is, like, maybe this is just me getting, like, way ahead of myself, but, like, an ultimate storyline for this kind of thing is sort of, like, all of Robotnik's and Eggman's, like, robots and life forms having a storyline, like bringing in the Scrapnik characters, bringing in Bell, bringing in Metal Sonic, and maybe, if we're lucky, bringing in Sage. Ooh. And what, that kind of story. That's the kind of, like, what I would hope this sort of thing could culminate with one day.
I know Belle is doing pretty good on her own. I do think I would love to see her get a big hug from Mecha Sonic, because I think they could both use it. I know some of these concepts almost feel like we probably won't get them because they feel too close to like a huge milestone. Like, not saying they should wait until the book ends, but like, I don't know, man. Issue 100 is getting close.
It does seem like the kind of thing they'd want to save for a special occasion.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, fantastic. I can't begin to continue to say how much I love this, and how it'll probably be on like an annual reread cycle for me, especially in the spooky times.
This is definitely one of the stories that I always recommend to people when they're like, hey, what's a good example of, something that explains what's good about the Sonic comics or whatever?
It's a good one, and it's nice to finally have like this. I don't think we would get this kind of story in the 90s, something having the Badniks being this sympathetic as being like the characters that they are. I mean, okay, I suppose we've had Breezy and Robotnik Jr., and I suppose we've had Metal Sonic in the OVA, and I suppose we've had the converted Rodians, and well, anyway, they wouldn't have made it like this, so...
I mean, I would say this is different, because this is literally, all of those had some element of like, first of all, like very exclusive to their medium. But I mean, this is literally the little robots that you are meant to destroy in Sonic games, and giving them pathos.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
We can always rely on you, Chris, for the dry, like, British, like,
go-to.
That's pretty good.
As someone who's not actually needs to catch up with IDW eventually, because I don't know if it's been like must read for me in a while. I feel like everyone says, well, okay, can't say everyone says it's good because the Sonic fandom, but it's sort of like nice going back to this one little contained story and being like, man, that's just a lovely slice of Sonic media that we've not had before, and makes me wonder what's in the future for this kind of like, standalone stories in the Sonic world.
It's like what I said at the top of the show of just like, it's important to have these standalone stories that are like still very good quality, and you don't need a whole lot of, or no, hopefully no continuity to be able to get into, because like I said before, it's a refresher. It's something outside of what you've devoted so much time to. It's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, and I hope we do continue to get more stories in this vein where it is, just these shorter little bits that are a little bit different than what we've gotten used to from Sonic, and that are able to, push things in a way that they might not otherwise be able to.
We could very well have like a standalone story that's 4 issues like this, where Mecha Sonic in IDW universe meets Metal Sonic, and maybe they do have it out, and then maybe at the end Metal Sonic's just like, I don't like you, but I'll leave you alone.
Yeah.
But yeah, that does bring us to the end of Scrapnik Island. Again, as we said, probably one of the best Sonic comics of all time, and I'm so glad we got this opportunity to revisit it. Until the next time we get to revisit a Sonic comic, you can find me on the various socials at CyberLink420.
You can find me around the internet as GameBuddy, sometimes with a 123 at the end.
You can find me all across the internet making bad decisions and saying horrible things about Sonic at Faulerro. That's Faulerro.
Love that jingle. And you can find me on the socials as RockTheJake, and on Twitch as Mr. RockTheJake.
And of course, special thanks as always to Amy Waters for the use of our theme song from the album Gotta Go Slow. You can check out more of her work on YouTube and Bandcamp. And while you're at it, please remember to subscribe, review, share, all that good stuff so we can keep making the podcast, because anytime we get to really dig in on stuff we absolutely love like this, it's so much fun, and we love doing it, and we want to keep doing it. But as for next time, we are getting into the holiday season, but not exactly in the ways you expect.
Oh, how so?
Yeah. Oh, well, we're going to be doing something a little fun next time. So we like our creative exercises every now and then here on The Hill Is Always Greener, and next time we are going to individually come up with our own pitches for a Sonic Christmas special. Could be through any time period of the history of Sonic. And I think that's going to be a fun way of imagining what could have been with Sonic, because we've certainly done a bit of theorizing here right now and working out what could happen in the future. Let's work out what could happen at Christmas. So that's going to be fun, I think.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's certainly going to be different, I will say that, but I'm looking forward to the stuff we come up with. But until then, I'm CyberLink.
I'm GameBuddy.
I'm Faulerro.
And I'm RockTheJake, and did he just spit on my island?
Mecha Sonic when somebody gets a little bit too close to Scrapnik. This has been The Hill Is Always Greener, and we will see you on the other side.
Spooky.